Hello, I am Christian Santiago, and today I will be speaking on community reflections on the Slavery Memory and Justice Project research on William Jewell College's pro-slavery past. Now, I'm a junior history and political science major here at Jewell, and I am grateful not only to be able to speak with you all today, but also to serve on this panel with these individuals and the Slavery Memory and Justice Project at large. In joining this project in the fall of my sophomore year, realizing the importance of the topic and the amount of passion its members had and still have to tell the truth about the history that had been given a very limited amount of attention, my hope was ultimately to serve a community in which I was a fresh face. Beginning my senior year of high school in my hometown of La Mirada, California, I had no intention of spending my undergraduate studies in Missouri, and I certainly did not know what a William Jewell even was. But as I was brought into this environment and learned to love its culture, its academic ambitions, and especially its people, more than anything else, I hoped to get back to the place I was being enriched in, and I believe that being a part of this project has given me that opportunity. It is for this reason that I feel that when we look at Slavery Memory and Justice, Project, and the way it has hoped to bring attention to the realities of our past, it has just as important to tell the truth as it is to engage ourselves in the community this information is reflected on. While I have spent nearly 3 years as a resident of Liberty in the greatest Kansas City area, for most, this information is relevant for generations of family that have been embedded here and who take pride in the place that they live in, as well as the institutions they have been educated by. Therefore, in having a conversation about the university's history with slavery, it is vital that we ask and contemplate on feedback from this community. That is why this past semester I sought a chronology of reflections the community has had on the Slavery Memory and Justice Project to better understand how where we have been should influence where we are headed. In looking over the outside engagement and reactions we have received, there are a few notable themes that introduce themselves. While last year's engagement with the project remained largely in-house with articles in Hilltop Monitor and a Duke colloquium presentation last spring, outreaching into the greater Kansas City community came in August of last year when Maria Benevento, a journalist for the Kansas City Beacon, approached project members about putting together an article talking on our work. In interviewing for our discussion, Maria recalled that her reason for reaching out came from general interest among Kansas City residents regarding their own history, especially given the very recent conversations that were happening nationally regarding the repercussions injustice has had in our society today and what responsibilities we must have to act on this. These quandaries would ultimately turn into the article entitled "Our Founders Owned Slaves, William Jewell Project Reveals Truth, Prompts Calls for Change." While any response would have been worth getting this information out to the public square, we were delighted to see active community involvement. Maria herself noted how she had received email responses enthusiastic that such research was being done and how excited they were for future updates, something Maria has taken to heart, reaching out to the Slavery Memory and Justice Project members again very recently for a follow-up article. This even went as far as to have other outlets pick up and publish the story, a notable one being the Kansas City Star. While there are a number of important things I personally took away from Maria's words, a primary one for me had to do with the importance she pressed on the fact that the project had student-run research, especially that research that expands outside the classroom or a grade. What is vital to this project is academic freedom and the encouragement of students to seek truth and be heard and recognized when they do so. It is this exact subject that sparked conversation about a more recent article put out by the Pitch KC entitled "William Jewell Students Uncover College's Pro-Slavery Past but Face Opposition from the School Administration." Written by the Pitch journalist, Jewell alumni, and former Slavery Memory and Justice Project member Savannah Hawley, this article focused primarily on those efforts of the Slavery Memory and Justice Project and addressed the depth of slavery's involvement with the institution's founding and founders, but also the interesting situation Jewell stands in by having two organizations dedicated to addressing this truth, that of the Slavery Memory and Justice Project and that of the Racial Reconciliation Commission. And as the article notes, this practice is not common. For many institutions who have had successful commissions to address their own history of slavery, such as Brown University, many begin as student-led projects, which are then put in collaboration with the institution. However, such support as of now does not exist in an official capacity between the administration and the Slavery Memory and Justice Project. Instead, we have two separate groups, one of which has a central focus that engulfs that of the Slavery Memory and Justice Project, and more notably is backed by the administration. While it is not impossible for both groups to act towards similar goals, what it is difficult to walk a line of academic freedom when the active work done by one spills into the other. What message is sent to students trying to seek the truth and be recognized for those efforts if the official narrative has been endowed onto a different organization? However, the truth is only as important as the willingness of the general public to be aware of it and engage in it. A difficulty for the Slavery Memory and Justice Project and the RRC alike must be community engagement, especially among those on campus and those who used to call this campus home. It is for this reason that I decided recently to have a conversation with Dr. Donna Garner, hoping to gain her insights not only as a member of the Racial Reconciliation Commission, but also as a faculty member at Jewell who has invested herself to independent research about the history of slavery at institutions across Missouri. In talking on the social atmosphere, conversations about the school's pro-slavery history has on campus, Dr. Garner came to a conclusion I myself have observed in my informal interactions with individuals around campus. While there is general support for those sorts of projects, conversation is only likely to occur if someone involved with these efforts brings it into the conversation, or if a talk or article was recently published. This passive atmosphere that is created around the subject is not unexpected, but is nonetheless difficult to change. When students and faculty have so much invested in their daily habits, whether it be for classes, for family, for sports, Greek life, etc., how does one find the time and energy to be invested in something they feel so far removed from? In a similar conversation I had with Ian Wooldridge as a representative of the school's student senate, conversations surrounding the school's history with slavery and steps that can be taken to reconcile the past are rare outside the immediate Senate body. What then can we do to combat apathy and embolden empathy? A suggestion I found to be vital by Dr. Gardner had to do with engaging in the truth from an administrative level. If an institution is adamantly invested in having conversations about the truth, there must be engagement with everyone. Not only this, but make our efforts of reconciliation active and visible. To her own suggestion, and one that was mirrored in my conversation with Ian Wooldridge, institutions for education in the history could be a vital step in the right direction. Something modeling a museum display, an office to educate people on the realities of our history, and or further integration of this history into the courses offered at the university would be active steps in this direction, illustrating this collaborative effort between the administration, its students, and those invested in meaningful change. Steps such as the Student Senate's decision to rename the Alexander Doniphan Award to better represent the values and individuals this campus upholds is a step that the Slavery Memory and Justice Project supports and would love to see continue. The final theme I would like to touch on focuses back on Savannah Hawley's article in the Pitch Casey. Even looking past the administrative angle and the relationship between the Slavery Memory and Justice Project and the Racial Reconciliation Commission, what ought to be recognized about this article is the conversations that developed online, reactions from local KC residents, Liberty residents, some even alumni of the institution engaging in active, public, and especially notable, uncensored debate. And while I'm not trying to play up the reality of the comments and responses, it is undoubtedly a mixed bag among people that self-identify in this community. Most of the article's opposition posing a simple question: why? For the Slavery, Memory, and Justice Project, for the RRC, for anyone else seeking to open and discuss the history of the school's founding, what is the point? Is it not obvious that a college in Missouri that was instituted prior to the Civil War has connections to slavery? Regardless of this information, if this information was actively advertised and engaged on campus, what should this change for us in the present, so far removed from slavery and its ramifications? Even as a member of the Slavery, Memory, and Justice Project, who has been to the talks, who has seen the disapproving glares at the Missouri Conference of History, or interactions with archivists or guides who act distant and touchy on the subject of slavery, there is the same question that seems to be the hardest one to answer: why? And in reevaluating my answer to this question, I find that something Maria mentioned during my talk with her, really stood out about why she does journalism and is passionate about addressing the narratives that she does. Paraphrased from her reporter mission statement, what Maria believes is that people are better off when they are informed outright and correctly, and that perspective is vital to make sure ideas and people with those ideas are not left by the wayside. For those over 1,000 individuals enslaved by members of Jewell's founding, the narratives, their stories, their perspectives have never gotten their day in the sun. Regardless of what is said or done about the reputation and legacy of those founders we idolize with awards, with street names, and with the names of our buildings, the names of those founders who alleviated the duties of others, who enriched the pockets of the few, and who physically laid the bricks for those buildings, deserve to be known and appreciated all the same. That is why we do what